in reality, if you want to excel, if you want to be great, if you want to be a person that makes the biggest impact, following your purpose is going to give you the best result. Hello and welcome back to the Break the Locks podcast. I'm Jay Kitamura, and this is a podcast that's dedicated to help you break the locks that's holding you back from your true potential. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about finding your purpose, and this is a big one. There's a lot of benefits from finding your purpose. One of the main ones is the ability to weed out the nonsense, the ability to focus on what's important to you and be able to distinguish what's really not important, what's wasting your time, and what is actually living out your purpose. So, for me, a good example is I'm always been a competitive person and I've always been intrigued with learning new things. So in turn, I wanted to be good at everything. And, I was kind of embarrassed to even try certain things that I knew that I wasn't going to be good at. So I wasn't really living life to the fullest, so to speak. But once I was able to find my purpose, all that didn't matter. I didn't have to be the best at everything. I didn't have to waste my time and spend a couple of weeks trying to get good at something just to show how competitive I could be. If it didn't matter, it didn't matter. And it's not like I felt like I was missing out. It actually gave me more clarity and let me choose exactly what I wanted to focus on. And that's amazing. Especially if you're an entrepreneur. If you're an entrepreneur like me, it's really important to find your purpose, because if money is the purpose, and that's usually the case for most people, then it's very difficult to figure out exactly what you want to do, because there's so many opportunities out there. And once you hit a wall, and if you're an entrepreneur, there's always going to be that wall, that mountain, that struggle. It's going to happen regardless of how great that opportunity is. It always does. Then you start seeing greener grass all over the place. You're like, well, this is a little hard because of this, or this is outdated because of this, or I could be doing something better. Oh, look at that. That looks easier and it makes more money. I should try that. I'm wasting my time with this. And you'll keep bouncing around from one to another. And trust me, I've done that quite a bit in my day. But once I was able to find my purpose, I had a clear path. And that allows you to actually grow more as a person. Just think about it. Say you spend, a year doing something, and say you spend 10 years doing something. How much better would you be at that particular thing that you've been spending 10 years on versus the other thing? You may be good at everything. You could be a jack at all trades, master of none. If you spent a year at 10 different things, I'm not going to lie, it sounds kind of fun and interesting. But in reality, if you want to excel, if you want to be great, if you want to be a person that makes the biggest impact, following your purpose is going to give you the best results. So I want to get started on how you actually can do that and how I did it. So if you didn't listen to the other two episodes, this is episode number 3. I encourage you to listen to that, because it is going to continue from those concepts. So in the first episode, we talked about your subconscious mind, manifestation, how important your subconscious mind is to lead you to where you want to go. And in the second episode, we talked about how to find true long-term happiness. So we distinguished the difference between stimulation and actual fulfilling what I call the spiritual desires, which is hope, security, value, and connection. This may all sound like nonsense unless you actually listen to those podcasts. So you may want to listen to those first. But essentially what it is that we are like two entities in one. And I talked about how this is actually how we have free will, because we are all programmed beings. We have subconscious programming. But what happens is we are like two entities. One side has our physical desires, which is like reproduction, all the things that we need our species to thrive, eating. And then we also have our spiritual desires, which is hope, security, value, and connection. Sometimes they don't mesh together. Sometimes they conflict. So the idea is that ability to choose, that confliction is actually what gives you free will. Because if you were a lower life form and you only operated on your impulses and your physical programming for your physical desires, just to make sure you thrive and your species continues, then you're just like an animal. But now that you have the ability to make a decision for it to fulfill your spiritual desires, you can contemplate what you want your next move to be. So that's very important to understand. So the idea is that you need to really be able to distinguish these two types of desires, because this is why it's so difficult to find your purpose today in life. When we're looking at hundreds of years ago, it was much, much easier to find your purpose because there wasn't so much stimulation. I mean, we have crazy amounts of stimulation. It's getting crazier and crazier. And with virtual reality and artificial intelligence and different types of drugs that are out here, it's going to get even worse and worse. We spend millions, even billions of dollars to entertain ourselves. So that all that stuff didn't exist back then. So the thing is, we get stimulation and we get fulfillment when we actually do things that are part of our purpose. And you can see that in the olden days, because a lot of times, people acted out their purpose by being, say, for example, a blacksmith. And what was interesting is that they were getting fulfillment from doing that particular thing, but it wasn't only them. Their kids did it. You could see a family had a long line of blacksmiths. Now, that just wasn't just because they wanted to follow in their father's footsteps. That was because a lot of times in their DNA, they have the feel-good chemicals that are being programmed to release at certain times, and they share that same thing with their family. So they feel that same fulfillment. So that's what they end up doing. But in today's day and age, with all this stimulation, we're confused. We pull out our phone. The dopamine rush that we get from scrolling is the same as a slot machine. We play super hardcore video games, binge watch Netflix, watch these crazy huge production movies. We're getting stimulation. The food, the junk food, everything is stimulating us to the gills. And our subconscious mind likes to take shortcuts. It just wants to get to where it wants to go. And it's just two things that it really tries to do, which is to protect you, to avoid pain, and to seek out pleasure, to make you feel good. So in the past, when you felt good, a lot of times it could have been something that was in line with your purpose, and it was much easier to distinguish and find those things. But now, because of the stimuli, our subconscious gravitates to those things instead. So we are confused. If you have a dopamine addiction, if you're constantly fueling yourself with these type of pleasures, especially drug use, it's nearly impossible to find your purpose based on the feeling, because your body will always crave that stimulation. And we can see this, unfortunately, a lot in kids. You ask most kids what they want to do for a living, so many of them want to be video game designers or video game esports players or YouTubers, all because it has to do with the things that are giving them the most stimulation. They want to make movies. It makes sense. But the thing is that it may lead them down the wrong path, because as we talked about in the last episode, the two different types of desires work in different ways. Stimulation, which is just a state, it's like a drug. Once you get too much of it, it starts wearing off and doesn't have the same effect. So it's not like you can play these video games over and over and over and over again and be content for the rest of your life. You get bored of it. It wears off. And then you need more. You need more stimulation. You need more just to get the same high. It's the same with drugs. It's the same with scrolling. Same with everything. It gets old after a certain point. But that's not what we're searching for when it comes to our purpose. We want something that we're going to have a long-lasting fulfillment from that purpose. So having your purpose being fulfilled by stimulation is a short-term solution, and it leads people down the wrong path. And once they figure this out, I've worked with a lot of clients that have multi-millions of dollars and they can buy everything that they want. And most people who have a lack of money always think that that's the road to happiness. But if you ask them, once they have the ability to buy everything, it just gets old. It's not what it wasn't what they were searching for. And a lot of times it leads them down into a life of depression. So instead of that, you should be proactive to figure out what your actual purpose is. And this is how we go about doing that. We have to distinguish these two things. So, your purpose is actually when your spiritual desires and your physical desires actually converge or they meet. So, what that means is that you can actually figure it out by doing an exercise. And I have an exercise that you guys can go through. It's a video. There's one that's a digital version, and there's one on paper they can do. And I'll put a link for that later. Or what you can do is actually comment below. I want you to, yeah, comment below purpose. And I'll go ahead and message you and give you all the information. But essentially, how it works is that you first figure out all the things that give you that sense of happiness, of joy, or fulfillment, regardless if it's stimulation or not. Just at the beginning, we're going to just write down everything. So you figure out everything that makes you feel good, okay? And then you write them all down. And then the next thing, this may rub some people the wrong way, but you're going to try to do that with your ancestors. And the reason why is a lot of people don't like to think that they're much like their parents or their grandparents, but you are. Your DNA actually will dictate when those feel-good chemicals are released, which means a lot of the same things that they did that make them feel good is the same things that you do to make you feel good. The differentiator is, of course, different opportunities. Sometimes, your parents may not have been exposed to these things, but it's very possible that you guys share a lot of these interests. So you're first writing your own, everything that makes you feel good. Okay, when you do this, I feel good. When I do this, I feel good. When I do this, I feel good. Then you're going to do it for both your parents. You're going to write them all down. And if you don't know, you can ask them. Or if, say, you have a parent that passed away, or if you didn't grow up with them, you didn't know them, just go ahead and skip that. Then the next one is you're going to do your grandparents on both sides. So you're going to follow this concept and do all that. And then you're going to take a look at your list and just cross out the ones that you believe are strictly stimulation. So if you see like playing video games and things, just think, some people may have more of a in-depth passion for it than just, getting stimulation out of it. So you have to use your own judgment on which ones are going to be beyond just stimulation and what is just stimulation, right? So all the things that are just purely stimulation, you can just go ahead and cross those out. But the next thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to, and this is going to take a little while to be able to do because a lot of times it's hard for people to think of these things, but you have to go real deep inside yourself to figure it out. So first, we're going to go through the 4 keys, which is hope, security, value, connection, the spiritual desires that we all are searching for. And you're going to write down all the things that bring you hope. All the things that bring you hope. So what that means is, what do you do in your life that makes you feel that tomorrow is a better day because I'm doing this? When I do this, I feel like tomorrow could be a better day. I feel like things are going to get better. I'm very excited for tomorrow. What things that you do make you feel that way? And take some time. And again, this is not something that has to be done in one sitting. It could be an ongoing process because sometimes you won't realize something. Sometimes you'll remember something later. Sometimes you'll find out something about one of your ancestors, your parents, and you could add it. So it should be like an ongoing thing, but you'll be able to get a very clear path, after you do it at the beginning. So write down what brings you hope. And then the next is security. Write down the things that bring you security, that makes you feel strong and secure. When I do this, I feel strong and secure and safe. It brings me that feeling. So you really have to think about that. And just before you guys run into any issues, I know one of the problems that a lot of people run into when they do this is they just write everything. Like, oh, everything makes me feel hopeful. Everything makes me feel secure. If that's the case, then you need to really kind of go back and really feel that feeling of hope, security, and value connection, because it shouldn't be just everything. Okay. If you can narrow it down to really those specific feelings, then you're going to go along a lot further with it. But it's a process. So go ahead and try that out. So what brings you that feeling of security and strength? Next is value. So value is both your perceived value, how you believe value is, and your actual value to the world. So you're going to want to write the things that when you do them, you feel valuable. You feel like, wow, I'm really contributing. I'm really contributing to the world. Or your perceived value. When I do this, I feel valuable. I feel like I'm very valuable to the world around me. Okay? So think of that. And then the final one is connection. Connection means being a piece of something bigger than yourself. So when I do these things, I feel like I'm a part of something bigger. I feel connected with the world around me. I feel like I know my place. So essentially, what we're doing is we're trying to figure out all the things that we like and what things that we actually um, that fulfill our spiritual desires. And what we're going to do is try to translate these. So this may be a little difficult. There's a cheat sheet that you can use. So go ahead and comment below purpose. I'll go ahead and give you that information with the cheat sheet. But basically, a cheat sheet kind of converts some of the things to actual, how you say that, in a something that kind of contributes to the world or makes it a little bit broader. So for example, I know that sounds a little confusing. For example, if you say, I'm passionate about playing basketball, okay? That actually will translate to, I am passionate about showcasing my physical abilities to the world, or it could be competing. I love to compete. So you have to define how that is for you. Some people love it because of competition. Some people like it because of the improvement it does to their physical body and seeing the progression. So that's kind of how it works. Sometimes it may be, I like to teach my kid math, right? But so I like to teach others and coach others, right? So that's what it would translate to make it a little bit more broad. But what that's going to do is you're going to do that to all the things that are left on your list that you haven't crossed out that is purely stimulation. And then you're going to want to circle the ones that fall under the categories of hope, security, value, and connection. So you'll start to see patterns. Some of them will go under hope, some will go under security, some will go under both. So the thing is, the ones that are circled the most, if you have a bunch of them that maybe bring you hope, security, value, then you do what I call a validation. You look at the list from your ancestors. And if any of those things which were translated are the same as yours, so for instance, in my scenario, I really feel very valuable, connected. I feel secure and I feel hopeful. That's everything, which is my purpose when I coach people. So when I coach people and help them with their problems, help them get over obstacles, I really feel a sense of fulfillment. And what's interesting is my mother, whereas she is not a coach or a life coach or a personal development coach, she's a piano teacher. And she loves to teach people how to play the piano and how to perform. So what's interesting is that actually will translate to likes to coach, likes to teach. Her father was a poet, but one time I asked him as a kid, how come you have this class that goes on every Saturday? And he says that he enjoys teaching people how to write poetry as much as he actually likes poetry. So he had the the spiritual desire to actually want to coach and teach as well. So you can see that. So now it's validated. I have two generations of coaches and teachers, and it validates mine. And then once you see how many circles I have, and on that particular one, I was very sure that I wasn't just circling everything. I really do feel hopeful, secure, and valuable and connected when I do coach. Then that was my purpose. Coaching was my purpose. Teaching others was my purpose. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing this, because it is my purpose and I get the most sense of fulfillment out of that. But the amazing thing is, and we'll get more into this later, but the four keys, the crazy thing about it is it defines a lot of things. So for instance, one of the things is love. If you actually want to show somebody love, that is actually showing them the four keys, giving them a sense of hope, security, value, and connection. It's interesting because, I did a lot of research on this and trying to put the blueprint together for how to love. And there wasn't really a good answer when I asked people this question of what they felt love was. And the reason is because they don't really talk about the ingredients to love, right? And I'm talking about love, not just like a lust or physical attraction, but say, for instance, the love you have for your child or a sibling, something like that, right? That type of love. That a lot of times they talk about the feeling rather than the ingredients, right? So the thing is, the feeling that you get, I believe, is gratitude. Gratitude is the feeling that you get because think about it. Say you're hugging your 3-year-old child and you just love that child. I love you so much. Couldn't it be a feeling of I'm so grateful that you exist. I'm so grateful that you're here with me. It's a gratefulness, but it's because of the sharing of the four keys. You're grateful because you have the ability to provide them hope, security, and value and connection. And they're giving that to you. They're sharing it with you. They're giving you hope. They're giving you security, giving you value. They're giving you that connection. So it's the sharing of the four keys. And the result is the feeling, which is gratitude. But this is a special gratitude because it's not just a, hey, thanks for the $5. It's a thank you for the receiving of the four keys, which is your spiritual gratitude. So spiritual gratitude is the most powerful energy in the world. If you focus your spiritual gratitude on where you want to go, you can manifest that. You can manifest your future by basically having that spiritual gratitude for your destination. So that's where it goes hand in hand with your purpose, because what your purpose really is something that you're physically inclined to like to do. So that means your physical body will actually give you the motivation to do it with the chemical reactions, but you're also having a spiritual gratitude for being able to do that. And if you can find that, that is your purpose. And then if you can have that spiritual gratitude, it's going to manifest things beyond your dreams and it's going to become something bigger than you ever thought it could become. A lot of times people don't actually act on their purpose because society teaches you that your purpose is kind of secondary. You need to make money, you need to survive, all those things. Hope, security, value, and connection, right? You need to have security. You need to get those bills paid before you can find out anything. Your value and connection, how you're valuable to society and how you connect with the world, that's really that's your identity. That's who you are. This is a big deal. So if you can find that spiritual gratitude and merge it with the inner chemical reactions that are built into your DNA that makes you like a certain thing, then you found it. You found it. And that exercise will put you on the right path. And again, comment below purpose. I'll send you over the information, give you free access to have that program, and it's really going to change your life, and make you find your purpose, let you weed out all the nonsense, and be able to elevate yourself to levels that you never thought were possible. So again, thanks for joining me today. And until next time, before I go, actually, I encourage you to take a look at the Break the Locks webinar that I put together. So go to the link below. It's breakthelocks.com/JKitX. And until then, I'll see you guys.